and it allows us to have an image of Christ.
Legends about a miraculous image of
touched the face of Christ and then bore a miraculous image.
For centuries, people believed the Last Supper revealed everything it had to say. They stood before it in silence, trusting its cracked surface to hold nothing more than fading paint and fading history.
Last Supper, the great fresco by Leonardo da Vinci.
But when a new AI scan reached beneath the layers Leonardo left behind, something impossible surfaced. Experts froze.
Before Leonardo da Vinci, there are hundreds of Last Suppers. And when he painted the Last Suppers, he had to follow some rules.
Historians refused to speak. The room fell into a fear no one expected. What the AI uncovered was not damage, it was intention, and it was never meant for Leonardo's time. Leonardo's secret: war against silence. Leonardo da Vinci stepped into the refectory where the Last Supper would one day cover the wall, and he did so with a fear that most people today cannot imagine. Days earlier, he had heard that a scholar in Florence had been dragged from his home for owning banned manuscripts. People whispered that the man was taken to a cold chamber under a church building. Some said he confessed under torture. Others said he refused to speak and never came out. Leonardo knew that this could happen to anyone who questioned official beliefs. He also knew that he now held writings that were considered just as dangerous. This fear stayed with him from the first brushstroke of the Last Supper to the final layer of paint. Europe during Leonardo's lifetime was controlled by powerful church officials who believed that knowledge belonged only to them. They decided what people were allowed to read and what they were forbidden to think about. They burned books that disagreed with official teachings. They banned entire ideas when those ideas gave people too much power to think for themselves. Leonardo lived inside this strict world every single day. He attended sermons where priests shouted that anyone who searched for truth outside church authority was at risk of spiritual death. Some priests warned that independent thought was a sign of pride and rebellion. Leonardo listened to these threats and felt anger and fear at the same time. His journals show this clearly. He wrote that blind obedience destroyed the mind. He wrote that truth became twisted when only a few powerful men controlled it. While painting The Last Supper, Leonardo was secretly involved with thinkers who translated forbidden writings. These writings came from the early days of Christianity and included the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary, and a text known as the Apocryphon of John. These books had been rejected by church leaders because they encouraged people to learn through understanding rather than obedience. They described teachings that were more personal and less controlled. They suggested that truth lived inside each individual and not only in the words approved by the church. Leonardo understood the danger of these writings. He knew that if anyone found the copies he read, his life could be destroyed. Yet he continued reading them in quiet rooms with people who trusted him. These forbidden texts did more than shock Leonardo. They changed how he saw the story of Jesus and the disciples. They showed scenes and teachings that did not appear in official scriptures. They described arguments among the disciples. They described moments of fear that the church tried to hide. Leonardo realized that the official version of the Last Supper was not the complete version. This idea stayed with him as he planned each figure in the painting. He did not show 12 perfect saints around Jesus. He showed men in fear and confusion because he knew the real story was far more human than people were allowed to believe. Leonardo lived during the Renaissance, a time when humanists believed that reason and research were the paths to truth. The church responded with tighter control. People felt trapped between two forces. Leonardo had to hide his beliefs to survive. He wrote in mirror writing so that only he could read his notes. He placed scientific diagrams inside artistic sketches so that his enemies would not understand his discoveries. He also realized that a painting like The Last Supper could protect dangerous ideas because no one would suspect secret messages inside a holy image. A sacred artwork could hide truths that a book could never hide. As Leonardo planned the painting, he made a decision that changed everything. He decided that The Last Supper would hold ideas that no one in his time could safely speak aloud. The wall of the refectory became his shield. The sacred subject became his cover. The painting became his hidden message to the future. The secrets Leonardo buried inside the painting remained hidden for centuries because no human eye could detect them. They waited in silence until a new kind of intelligence finally appeared, one capable of seeing what Leonardo intended. The AI that saw beneath the impossible. It was early 2025 when a team of art historians, theologians, restoration experts, and AI specialists came together because they feared the Last Supper painting was entering another stage of decay. The mural had begun showing new cracks, new discoloration, and new areas that looked as if they were loosening from the wall. The team hoped to document the damage before more of the painting collapsed into dust. The Last Supper has been dying since the day Leonardo finished it. Unlike every other master of his time, Leonardo refused to follow the safe method of painting on wet plaster. He painted on dry plaster and mixed his own oils and pigments because he wanted brighter colors. This choice destroyed his own work. The paint began to peel almost immediately. It cracked open like brittle skin. This terrifying process began while Leonardo was still alive, and he could do nothing to stop it. Over the centuries, the painting suffered even more damage. Water from storms and flooding seeped through the wall behind it. Mold crept into the cracks. Temperature changes split the surface again and again. Every new season brought a new threat. This growing decay is what forced the experts of early 2025 to act. They did not know that artificial intelligence would peel back the surface in a way no human hand could ever achieve. And that is where the real mystery began. The team used a technology called hyperspectral imaging. This type of scanning is different from normal photographs because it captures information from wavelengths of light that the human eye cannot see. It reveals details from ultraviolet light, infrared light, and even the energy that bounces between pigment particles. When the machine scanned The Last Supper, it created separate images for every layer of paint. Each layer showed its own pattern of light, color, and shadow. This allowed researchers to study brushstrokes that had been buried for hundreds of years. Once the images were collected, a specialized AI system began breaking them apart. The AI separated the painting into different components so it could study each one clearly. It separated microscopic fissures, which are tiny cracks that form over centuries. It separated chemical pigment residues, which helped the system understand what ingredients Leonardo used and in what order. It separated buried strokes that had been covered by later modifications. It also separated refracted light scatter, which is the way light bends when it passes through uneven layers of old paint. Even the faint carbon signatures left behind by Leonardo's early outlines were isolated by the system. After the painting was broken into its smallest elements, the AI was trained to think like Leonardo as much as possible. The researchers loaded thousands of samples of Leonardo's handwriting. They included notes from his journals, sketches, diagrams, and letters he wrote to patrons. The AI learned how Leonardo formed letters. It learned how he used mirror writing, which is writing backwards so the words can only be read in a mirror. It learned his slanted letter shapes and the small flourishes he added to certain symbols. It also learned how he used abbreviations to hide sensitive ideas. The AI was then fed diagrams from Leonardo's scientific work. These diagrams showed his obsession with spirals, circles, and the mathematical pattern known as the golden ratio. Leonardo believed nature followed clear mathematical rules. He used spirals in his drawings of plants, water flow, and even human bodies. By learning these patterns, the AI was able to search the painting for mathematical structures that human viewers would never notice. The machine soon detected something that confused everyone. It found a mathematical void inside the composition of The Last Supper. This void appeared in a region where the painting should have been perfectly symmetrical. Instead, that area showed signs of deliberate subtraction. It was as if Leonardo had added something, and then removed it with great care. The AI confirmed that this irregularity was not caused by age or damage. It was intentional. The system did not yet know the meaning of this void. The answer would only appear later when deeper scans revealed what the emptiness was hiding. Before that, the AI then created a detailed map of the painting using its geometric findings. It traced the arrangement of the table, the hands of the disciples, the position of the bread, and the direction of the light. All of these elements formed a hidden geometric sequence. The sequence began at the right hand of Jesus, traveled around each disciple in order, and ended inside the void. This discovery shocked the researchers. Medieval artists did not use complex geometric structures like this. Only Leonardo worked this way. Some Renaissance secret groups had used spiral codes to hide banned ideas, but no one expected to find this level of encoding inside The Last Supper. The AI reached a clear conclusion. Leonardo did not hide random patterns. He embedded a structured message inside the painting. It was placed with intention and precision, waiting for a future mind to discover it. The geometric map was only the beginning. Once the AI understood Leonardo's structure, it moved deeper into the painting and uncovered faint words buried under the pigment. These words revealed Leonardo's true voice for the first time in 500 years. The forbidden words beneath the paint. When the AI finished mapping the geometric structure of The Last Supper, it moved on to a deeper and far more dangerous task. It began studying the paint itself. The researchers used a method called spectral enhancement that allowed the machine to isolate light patterns from each pigment layer. This means the AI could look through the painting one thin layer at a time. When the system isolated the oldest and faintest layers, it detected unusual markings. These markings did not look like natural cracks or random damage. They formed shapes that resembled letters. The team ordered the system to enhance these shapes, and what appeared next shocked everyone. The AI revealed mirror writing hidden beneath the paint. Leonardo used this writing style in his private journals because it kept unwanted eyes from understanding his thoughts. The machine recognized the same letter shapes and the same slanted strokes it had learned from Leonardo's journals. It confirmed that the markings under the paint were human writing and not accidental forms. The inscriptions did not appear in random places. Each one sat beside a disciple, as if Leonardo wanted every man at the table judged by his own hidden truth. The first clear phrase surfaced next to Peter. It said that strength without understanding is blind. This was not a gentle reminder, it was a direct strike at Peter's darkest weakness. In the Gospels, Peter swore loyalty and then collapsed in fear during Jesus' arrest. The hidden phrase exposed that fear in a way no open artwork ever could. Another phrase appeared beside Thomas. It said that questioning is the road to truth. This line carried far more weight than simple doubt. The forbidden Gospels that Leonardo secretly read claimed that Thomas demanded answers that church leaders later tried to silence. Thomas became a symbol of dangerous curiosity, and Leonardo placed that message directly beside his painted figure. The writing around Judas was even more disturbing. The AI isolated a phrase that said, "One betrays himself before betraying another." This did not describe a simple act of betrayal. It described a person who had already collapsed inside his own soul. Some early Christian writings claimed Judas acted under pressure from powerful men who rewrote the story later. Leonardo's hidden sentence dragged that buried idea back into the open and tied it to the darkest figure in the painting. The machine found another buried line under the folds of Jesus' robe. It was faint and almost impossible to detect until the AI enhanced the pigments again and again. The words finally became clear. They said that the eyes of truth do not belong to the powerful. This sentence attacked the very core of religious authority in Leonardo's time. Forbidden Christian writings made the same claim. They taught that truth came through personal understanding rather than through men who held power. Leonardo hid that message on the body of Jesus himself, knowing that no one in his time would dare look for it. Near the bread on the table, the machine uncovered one of the most unsettling lines so far. It said that what was remembered was shaped by those who feared the light. This implied that the story of the Last Supper and the story of early Christianity may have been edited or shaped by people who did not want certain truths to survive. This idea was found in several Gnostic writings that Leonardo had access to. These writings claimed that parts of Jesus' teachings were removed or altered by later leaders who wanted strict control. The AI compared each hidden phrase with Leonardo's journals. It found matching words, matching expressions, and matching ideas. The same criticism of blind obedience appeared both in Leonardo's journals and in the text under the paint. The same warnings about powerful men controlling truth appeared in both sources. This confirmed that the hidden writings inside the Last Supper were not coincidences. They came from Leonardo himself. The AI also noticed that the inscriptions were not scattered randomly. Their positions followed the same golden ratio pattern that the machine discovered earlier in the geometric structure. The placement of the messages matched Leonardo's obsession with mathematical order. This proved that the messages were placed intentionally and not added by accident or later restoration. However, the machine detected something even more disturbing. When it followed the pattern of the inscriptions, it noticed that the hidden writing suddenly stopped when it reached the void. There were no inscriptions in this area. There were no faint lines, no buried letters, and no pigment signatures. It was as if something had been removed. The AI flagged the void as a missing piece. It recognized that the messages formed a chain, and this chain broke exactly where the composition showed signs of removal. The system could not yet identify what was missing, but it became clear that the void was not empty by chance. Something important had once been there. The AI would soon identify what belonged in that empty space, and the answer would shatter everything we thought we knew about the Last Supper. The missing 13th secret and the forbidden gospel. When the AI returned to the geometric map it uncovered earlier, the researchers noticed something that had not been clear before. The machine kept detecting the same strange phrase again and again in the deeper layers of pigment. It appeared in different locations, but always in the same handwriting. The words were in Italian, written in Leonardo's mirror script. The phrase was Il testimone nascosto. The translation was The Hidden Witness. The team searched every known biblical text for this title and found nothing. It did not appear in any book of the New Testament. It did not appear in any official record. However, fragments of the Forbidden Gospel of Mary and parts of the Gospel of Thomas used similar language to describe someone who was present during events that the official Gospels never mentioned. Leonardo had read these banned writings. The AI realized that he had drawn directly from them. The machine continued scanning the deeper layers. It found another line buried under the paint. This line said that the one who sees but is unseen was present. This phrase suggested that someone witnessed the Last Supper but was never recorded in the traditional story. The idea matched the forbidden texts. These writings described a follower of Jesus who had been silenced because their presence threatened the authority of others. Leonardo placed this buried phrase near the area where the geometric spiral ended. This meant he designed the entire structure to point toward the most dangerous idea in the painting. The golden ratio spiral that the AI mapped earlier led directly into the void zone. This was the area where the symmetry of the painting broke without explanation. The AI analyzed the dimensions of the table and realized something shocking. There was physical space for another figure at the table. The seating arrangement did not match the number of disciples that Leonardo painted. It matched a larger number. The machine then examined the deepest pigment layer beneath the surface. It detected faint outlines. The shapes were the curved line of a shoulder and part of a robe. These outlines did not match any existing figure in the painting. They were covered and painted over with new pigment. The researchers understood that this was not an accident. Historical records showed that Renaissance artists sometimes removed figures if they were pressured by patrons or religious officials. By burying the original figure and covering the space with careful brushwork, he hid the presence of someone he believed was erased from the historical record. This aligned with the forbidden Gospels. The Gospel of Mary described a follower of Jesus whose influence caused jealousy among the disciples. The Gospel of Thomas described a witness who understood Jesus' private teachings. These figures appeared in texts that the church rejected and condemned. Some later scholars believed this missing presence was Mary Magdalene, but the hidden inscriptions did not match that theory. The phrases Leonardo buried pointed to another witness entirely, someone mentioned only in forbidden texts and removed from the official story. This phenomenon was not rare in history. Medieval manuscripts often contained erased names or removed figures when their existence became politically dangerous. Entire stories were rewritten to strengthen authority. He used the same tactic on the wall of the refectory. The AI found a sentence near the void that said that not all who shared the table were remembered. This was the final evidence that Leonardo believed that a real person had been erased from the story of the Last Supper. If Leonardo hinted at a forgotten figure, then the secret inside the void was only the beginning. The one line Leonardo never meant for his century. When the AI completed its analysis of the void, the researchers believed they had reached the end of Leonardo's hidden design. They thought the missing witness was the last secret buried inside the painting. They were wrong. When the machine intensified its scans under the central figure of Jesus, the pigment data behaved in a way that surprised everyone. The deeper layers did not match the normal structure of Leonardo's underpainting. The system found an unnatural thinness in the pigment under Jesus' right side. This thinness suggested that Leonardo had pressed something into the wall before painting over it. When the AI isolated that region and enhanced the faint carbon traces, a set of letters appeared, arranged in Leonardo's mirror writing. The researchers expected another philosophical phrase. Instead, they found something far more personal and devastating. The hidden sentence was not addressed to the church or the disciples. It was addressed to the erased witness. Leonardo wrote that, "You were meant to be seen." The message struck the team with a force none of them expected. This was a direct acknowledgement of a person whose existence was removed from the story. The writing carried the pain of someone who knew the truth, but could not defend it. Leonardo could not paint this figure openly, because it would have placed him in danger. He could not write their name in his journals, because those journals could be seized. He could not speak the truth in public, because he lived under the threat of punishment. Instead, he buried this single heartbreaking line beneath the body of Jesus, hiding it in the safest place he knew. He believed that one day someone would find it, even if that day came centuries after his death. The message connected directly to the forbidden Gospels Leonardo had read in secret. Those texts spoke of a witness who followed Jesus closely, but was never accepted by certain disciples. They described jealousy, conflict, and arguments that were removed from the official accounts. Leonardo understood that the church's approved version of the Last Supper was incomplete. He saw himself as the only person capable of restoring a piece of the truth without risking his life. The message for the erased witness made it clear that he believed this unknown figure had been silenced unfairly. By placing the message beneath Jesus, Leonardo ensured that this forgotten person was spiritually protected, even if they were erased from the physical painting. The AI then uncovered the second hidden message. It appeared under Jesus' right hand, in the center of the spiral path. This message was written more clearly, though still buried deep under multiple pigment layers. The words said that truth was divided so that power could stand. This was not the emotional plea of the first message. It was a direct accusation. The phrase pointed to the way early religious leaders decided which teachings would survive. Leonardo believed that truth had been broken apart and reorganized to protect authority. He encoded this belief into the center of the painting because he wanted it to be the core of his message. The presence of two hidden messages changed the meaning of the entire painting. One message restored a forgotten voice. The other exposed a system that had overwritten parts of history. Together, they formed a single idea. Leonardo believed that truth was not lost by accident. Truth was removed by the people who feared it, and he believed it was the responsibility of the future to bring that truth back to light. The researchers realized that Leonardo had never intended these messages for his own time. He buried them too deeply for any human eye to detect. Leonardo trusted that a future mind, one unrestricted by fear and control, would one day discover what he left behind. The Last Supper was not only a painting, it was a message sealed for a future generation. What do you think about the AI interpretation? Comment down below.